the first couple items on the agenda, the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and we have approved the agenda, and we did go into executive session. So welcome to everyone who has joined us since that time. I'd like to acknowledge we have County Councilman John Kemp, who just arrived. Welcome. And we have Mike Pomerico.
Burn it back there.
Okay, so first thing we have, well, Greg's he's on the agenda, so
He has to be here, huh?
first thing we have to do is I'd like a motion to return to regular session from executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we return from executive session to regular session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have public comments. Anyone signed up? Okay. We're going right into public presentations. We have the appointment of one member to the Accommodations Tax Committee, Dr. Alan Waddell. Mike, you want to take this item?
Yes, sir. Very good. Thank you, sir. So we do have a opening on the ATAX committee. Dr. Waddell stepped up. We're always looking for voluntary participation, so he's here if he has any statements for the council. He would be the seventh member. We're recommending the adoption or the appointment of Dr. Waddell to the ATAX committee.
Dr. Waddell, would you please join us and address the council? And the microphone's all yours.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Just happy to be here, happy to be considered for this position and to be a contributing member of the city of Hardeeville as a new business owner and resident of the town.
Well, on behalf of the council, first of all, welcome you and your lovely wife. I'm very impressed that after even just a few short months that you opened up, that you've become immediately involved in our community, and I applaud you for that, and thank you for that. Council, anybody have any questions for Dr. Waddell?
Just to reiterate what you said, Harry, welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so this requires a vote,
Yes, sir.
correct? I'd like a motion to appoint Dr. Alan Waddell to be a member of the Accommodation Tax Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Are there any comments or questions by the council or the public? And the public, this is kind of like when you get married. You know, this speak now or forever hold your peace. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. Thank you very much for your service.
You're welcome. I look forward to serving.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have the reappointment of Greg Paget on the BJWSA Board of Directors. Mr. Zimbo, you want to take this, please?
Yes, sir. So Greg's term is coming up. He was appointed in 2017. He's been a very active and wonderful participant on their board, and also has kept us very involved and informed on everything that's going on in the authority. I know he was integral in the hiring of their latest general manager, who we're looking very forward to working with, and we would recommend that Mr. Paget be reappointed to the BJWSA board.
Welcome, Greg. You want to address the council?
Just briefly, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve the last 6 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 6 years if you would vote. And there's a lot been going on around here. Beaufort and Jasper counties, as you well know, is growing tremendously, and there's a lot of work to do. And I've been nominated to serve as chairman of the board for the next 2 years, so I'm looking forward to the challenges.
Great, thank you. And, you know, I recall when we appointed you 6 years ago, can't believe I'm around this long, and
Me either.
you know, you've done a wonderful job, and we appreciate what you've done for the city of Hardeeville. And I know it's all of us are trying to get the limited resources, and you've done a good job protecting our position. So thank you. Any comments or questions of Mr. Paget by council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
you knew I wasn't going to leave you alone, right? That's the briefest statement I've ever heard Mr. Paget make, but anyway.
Could say some more, John.
Yeah. This is not the session for dirty laundry between you two.
But anyway, Greg, as we know from some of the other representations we've had over the years, Greg has kept us very much informed. He's come up here and presented, and if you have a question, you can call Greg for advice or whatever. And to my knowledge, he'd be the first chairman from Hardeeville, if not ever, in a long time. And I think that's going to help us a lot in the coming months. So Greg and I have been friends. He and I pick at each other a lot, but we've been friends a long time. And Greg's got a lot of integrity, so I have absolutely no problem with recommending him for reappointment.
Thank you, John.
Did you first meet him in 1900, just like everybody else did in this town? Okay.
I knew his daddy well.
Was on the wagon train.
Anyone else from council like to address Mr. Paget? Okay, so at this point then, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the reappointment of Mr. Greg Paget to the BJWSA Board.
Mr. Mayor, I would be honored to make the recommendation for Greg Paget to be reappointed to the Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority Board for another term.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Congratulations, Greg. We'll see you in how many more years?
But
6 years.
6 years.
I've got a meeting coming up with Mike, and I look forward to that.
Okay, good. And good luck with your appointment as chairman of the board.
Thanks so much.
Next, we have response to Jasper County's UAL Broad River Planning Area Temporary Moratorium. Mr. Zimboy, you want to take this item, please?
Yes, sir. So I believe Mr. Davis at the last meeting presented what we understand is the Jasper County's moratorium in the specific area of the county. He went through what we believe is how it may or may not impact the city. The council directed a response letter based on what our position would be. I drafted a letter based on signature by the mayor and the members of the council. I know the mayor has made some editorial changes, and I guess we're recommending that the council authorize sending this as the city's response to the Jasper County proposed moratorium.
Okay, so we've all had this. We also all looked at the edits that I made to it and offered to the council in advance. So I'll start with Mr. Mearsman. Do you have any further comments, questions, or edits to this letter?
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't.
Mrs. Guzman?
No, sir, I don't.
Mr. White?
No.
Mr. Carroll?
No, sir, Mayor.
I just have a question, Madam Attorney. Should this be read in public? Or it just goes to the,
You can read it if you want to, but I mean, the document is public.
okay, it is a public
Our-
document, and it's available for anybody who would like to see it. This will be, upon approval by council, will be sent to Jasper County. And if there's anybody who wants it, it's available. Okay. So I'd like a motion to approve this letter that will go to Jasper County.
I will make a motion that the council approve this letter.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this letter will be sent out to the county tomorrow, Mr. Zimber?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just, Mr. Mayor, if the mayor, if you could sign and the members of the council, I mean, the clerk can get you, so we can
Okay.
scan it and we'll email in general mail.
All right, so at the end of the meeting, you'll have each of us sign it?
Yes.
I know you'll have me sign it. It'll be in the stack that you put in front of me. Next, we have presentation approval of minutes from the June 1st, 2023 regular city council meeting. Do we have a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the minutes of June 1?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the June 1st, 2023 regular city council meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Guzman, you were not here. You might want to consult with the attorney. I'm not sure if you have to abstain. Madam Attorney, does, if Mrs. Guzman was not here, should she abstain?
Did you review the video?
Yes.
Yeah, then I
Then
don't,
she can vote. Okay,
as long as she has some knowledge of what happened at the.
okay, okay. I just make sure we do it all correct.
Yes, sir.
I forget, did somebody make a motion? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, next is old business. We have second reading of an ordinance to establish an annual budget which includes revenues and expenditures for the city of Hardeeville, South Carolina for the fiscal year 23-24, to set the millage rate, to establish a 5-year capital improvement plan, and to authorize a cost of living adjustment for city employees. This is ordinance 2023-6-1A. The second reading, if it gets a positive vote, the budget will be adopted. Mr. Zimbor, please.
No comments or questions, Mr. Mayor. We recommend adoption at second reading.
Okay, let's open the questioning with, to my left this time, and Mr. Carroll. Any comments or questions, Mr. Carroll?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, I think between the budget workshops and the tweaking and the first reading, I think this is about fine tuning this document about as much as we can fine tune it. So I have no more questions.
Okay, Mr. White?
I agree, and I think, John, your staff did a good job, and information was very helpful, and we got lots of looks at it, so thank you, and I'm in agreement with John.
Sir.
Mrs. Guzman?
I have no further questions other than to thank John and the staff involved in this. Between the many asks that city council put on you guys, y'all were able to come up with the budget so that we all could live with. So thank you so much.
Mr. Mearsman?
Just to thank Mike, staff, everybody for a difficult budget to work with, but I think fiscally we've been responsible to the citizens of Hardeeville, and congratulations to everybody. I think this is an excellent document.
Obviously, I want to echo the council's very pleased with the budget document that's put forward, the amount of time and effort that goes in there. But I want to also add one other thank you. I want to thank the members of this council for the hours and hours that I know each one of you put into studying this, analyzing it, trying to do the right thing, because this is our primary responsibility as a council to put forth a budget that's responsible and fits the needs of our city. So thank you, council, for the time you put into it. With all those extra hours, you have raised your hourly wage to about 75 cents. So thank you very much.
A raise.
A raise is a raise is a raise.
Find a new car.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public like to make a comment about our budget? Anyone electronically want?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Then I'll ask for a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the second reading of ordinance 2023-6-1A.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve on second reading ordinance 2023-6-1A.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We didn't even have a last-minute budget deal to do. Well, it's pretty good. Next. That joke went over really bad. Thanks.
Keep your evening job.
Next is the second reading of an ordinance to annex TMS approximately 471.65 acres of real estate located in Jasper County, as well as all adjacent public rights-of-way, railroad rights-of-way, waters, lowlands, and wetlands. This is ordinance 2023-6-1B. I will remind the council and the public that there are, 4 different ordinances related to this project. They are the annexation, then we amend the zoning, then there's a master plan, and then there's a development agreement. So there's 4 ordinances that we will vote on tonight. That it's second reading, and if passed, we'll pass the ordinances. So I suggest to the public and to council that any questions relating to any of the 4, we do it all at once, even though we will have 4 separate votes. So I think this time we start on my right with Mr. Mearsman.
I see no problem with this. I think this has been in the works for a while. I believe they have shown that they want to be good stewards of the land, and I think this is a good project.
Mrs. Guzman.
I just have a few, since I was not at the meeting the last time, and when I reviewed the tape again yesterday, you had asked something about the storage length for these trucks that's going to be turning in and out of the area. So do we have a dedicated turn lanes for this project?
I'll let the engineer speak.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Tate. I'm the design engineer and site development engineer for this project. The question was regarding dedicated turn lanes into the site.
Into and, yeah.
There are dedicated turn lanes into the site.
Uh-huh.
As far as lane storage, there is lane storage sufficient for the trucks to get into that turn lane and be able to get off the roadway and
then
into the
in
site.
there. Because not too long ago, we did have a workshop with SC Dot, and they did tell us that the storage lanes are determined by the higher the percentage of trucks, the longer the storage lanes, and
That's
and
correct.
the tapers are irrespective of whether it's a car or a truck. It's determined by the speed of the particular
The design
road.
speed for the roadway.
Right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you guys meet all of that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because
We've discussed this with SCDOT, their traffic engineer. He's approved in concept what we're proposing.
okay.
We still would get down into the design details
Okay.
specific to the requirements to meet the SCDOT regulations,
Yeah, okay.
and we would do that.
Yeah, because I think access management is a good thing, because it speaks to safety, and we avoid side swipes, rear ends, and all of that
Exactly.
fun stuff.
And again, we've spaced out the entrances and exits from this site in order to give enough relief between the two.
Okay.
We're also over 1,300 feet north of Highway 315.
Okay, great. With the trees, I heard Mr. Mayo ask about the trees, and that's also one of my pet things. with the trees that are being replaced, are these trees, because I would loathe to have the trees replaced where the DBH of these trees is just the size of a sapling, because all you need is one storm and they all get blown down, kind of thing. So how are you going to address that?
Well, the intent is to meet the standards of the city of Hardeeville
Hardeeville,
for your landscaped ordinance.
okay,
To meet those requirements for
Okay.
replacement trees. We're also maintaining a 50-foot buffer
right,
along South Carolina 170, Highway 17.
Highway 17,
And so we're going to try to maintain as many trees to screen the building from the roadway as possible.
okay, so you're going to use some sort of probably native vegetation
Yes.
to improve the opacity from the street,
Right.
in between the street and the building?
Anything that we can do to add to bare areas within the buffer, we'll do that as
Okay.
well in terms of making sure that we get the proper screenage that we need
Okay.
along that roadway.
Okay, and I just had to make one remark, and I'll get off my soapbox. Watching the presentation last week, I have to say that I've been on here for a short time, so, but I've seen a lot of owners come and go here, standing right where you are, and I have to say that you are an example of how an owner, a responsible owner, should be receptive to a city's needs.
Absolutely.
You raise that bar so high that I am hopeful that you have set the standard for other owners to follow, and I hope they see what you have done and
and I
try
want-
to follow that, because it shows that you're going to be a good neighbor to the city and its taxpayers. And I'm just bowled over with that. It's very refreshing to actually see that, because you have shown in every way possible that you want to be a good neighbor, and that, you're the bar to beat.
Absolutely.
So, thank
And
you
it-
so
and the
much.
credit goes to the owners, Jim Strakansky and Herb Chase. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more, Mrs. Guzman?
No, I'm sorry, I yield the floor.
Mr. White?
I would reiterate what Val has said to the owners and everything that's been done. And if there's any changes conceptually or anything that gets different than what we're hearing, please get back to us. But we trust that you'll follow through and get this done. And I think Val's right. It was done in an excellent way, and that makes a big difference.
Mr. Carroll?
I just reiterate what Bo said, synergism with the council. It's all good. They did a good job and went above and beyond.
Working on that vocabulary.
It's an inside joke.
New work for 'em. Synergism, boy, I tell you.
Yeah. I just reviewed my notes in the minutes, and all my questions were answered last time, and they will be held to the standards of the Gateway Corridor. Is that right? We included? Yes. No, it's good. I'm,
They had agreed to, it's voluntary because they're outside. of
right, but that's part of what we,
Their buffers and everything do comply.
in the
with-
buffers, we took to 50 feet last time, right? Okay, so I basically had all my questions answered last time. We did have we received yesterday, I believe it was, a note from the Coastal Conservation League, who has been a good partner to us and often raises good issues for the environment of the Low Country. Since they submitted it, I will read this into the record. I'll take care of it. Dear Mayor Williams and Hardeeville City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to comment on behalf of the Coastal Conservation League regarding the Port Logistics PDD. This property encompasses 471 acres, including 52 acres of upland, 411 acres of jurisdictional freshwater wetlands, and 7.38 acres of non-jurisdictional wetland features. We urge you to decline this annexation request based on concerns about the extensive wetlands on this tract, the site's potential for flooding, and its location outside the city's established growth boundary. Healthy wetlands aid in flood control, infiltrate groundwater, sequester carbon, trap sediment, buffer against storms, and provide habitat for wildlife. These ecosystem services also depend on healthy, undeveloped uplands to function. We question how development of 500,000 square feet warehouse facility on the very limited uplands will impact the overall wetland health and function both on and off-site. Tree removal, impervious surfaces, stormwater ponds, and storm sewers increase the volume of stormwater runoff and increase the timing and duration of runoff. Increasing the timing, duration, and magnitude of runoff has the potential to adversely impact the immediately adjacent Savannah National Wildlife Refuge. We strongly discourage the developers from filling the 7.38 acres of non-jurisdictional wetlands for this project. We also employ the city of Hardeeville to adopt the slow local stormwater design manual prior to entertaining any future PDD request. This property is currently located in unincorporated Jasper County and zoned rural preservation. According to the Jasper County Code of Ordinances, Article 5.3, the intent of this classification is to preserve, sustain, and protect suburban encroachment from rural areas and resources, particularly forests and agricultural lands, and maintain a balanced rural-urban environment. Jasper County plans to retain a consultant to strengthen their rural zoning standards and are close to placing a 9-month moratorium on major development in the U-Haul Broad River planning area. It is highly unlikely Jasper County would entertain this development because it would contradict the goals of their comprehensive plan and require a comprehensive plan amendment. The Conservation League supports Jasper County's recent action to protect natural and cultural resources while managing growth, and we encourage the city of Hardeeville to explore opportunities to do the same. Notably, this annexation request is outside of the growth boundaries of the city of Hardeeville. Why bother creating those growth boundaries if they are just going to be ignored or rolled back? The Port Logistics PDD is a classic example of jurisdiction or zone shopping, where the developers have petitioned Hardeeville for annexation, expecting a favorable outcome for their project's approval. Given the vast wetlands on the site, its susceptibility to flooding, stormwater runoff concerns, and the fact that this project is outside the city's growth boundary, we respectfully ask council to decline the proposed annexation, rezoning, and master plan. Okay, so I've reserved my comments and questions because I will use this as a basis of those questions. And I want to thank Mr. McClure and the Coastal Conservation League for sending in comments and questions. I'm not going to take this in order of how it was written, but the question of why do we have growth boundaries if we're going to roll them back when the time comes? And that's a legitimate question. But when we passed the growth boundaries, we said that, you know, if there was reason why we would extend it, then we would take those circumstances one at a time. It was a policy, not an ordinance restricting this. But it's a good question, Mr. McClure, but I do disagree that this is zone shopping. One of the reasons why this project was initially going back months expressed, interest is because the comment, Jasper County has taken rural preservation areas and turn those into warehousing. In fact, 2.5 million square feet of warehousing right off behind Exit 8 and rezoned a rural preservation area. And that was in our letter of response to Jasper County, although we didn't read it. So Jasper County has shown that they would change the zoning for an economic development project. This particular project, as opposed to that one near Exit 8, is in the southern zone where our comprehensive plan says that's where we want the industrial development to happen. So this fits into our plan, and which is why we thought that extending the growth boundaries were justified. And also because we felt that we could, through our actions, control the 411 acres that are staying as wetlands, and that this was very important to us, and we have confidence in our staff that would be preserved. So there was reasons why we extended our growth boundaries and why we do not feel this is zone shopping, because Jasper County has repeatedly shown that they would change rural preservation areas to industrial where they felt it was justified. The question about filling the 7.3 acres of non-jurisdictional wetlands came up at our last meeting, okay? And Katie Brana, that was kind of left to the review board whether or not that would actually happen. And I think I agree with them. If we can avoid filling those 7.3 acres, I agree with the Coastal League that, hey, I'd rather not have that done if there's any way that that's possible. And I think that was the direction of this council at the last meeting. Am I correct? Okay. The overall impact of that on the wetlands, I think that's a legitimate concern and one we've all had. However, down in that area, and we've looked at the coastal leagues, there is impact on the Savannah Wildlife Preserve, and Mr. Zimbor, correct me if I'm wrong, on Exit 3, on all the development that's happening in Riverport. And we have gone through extensive reviews with the Army Corps of Engineers in mitigating the impact of all that development, not just here, but all the development in that area, of which we all have a concern about the impact on those adjacent wildlife areas, and that this would not be, we would not go forward unless the Army Corps of Engineers and the experts say that will be mitigated. So I'd like staff to please come up and address the technical side of how this, this project will not affect those 411 acres that we're leaving as jurisdictional wetlands.
Well, we're going to go through the technical review process with the staff review committee with our engineering experts and the Army Corps of Engineers and all the other state permitting processes, and we're all going to take a look at that. Our priority is to make sure that it does not have a negative impact on that wildlife refuge. We don't have all of the design details at this stage of the process, but we will before they get a site development permit.
So I personally, and I'm not speaking for the council, but for me personally, I agree with the concern of the Coastal League that whatever mitigation process we go through, that we do not impact those 411 acres. It's one of the reasons that I personally favor it, because I trust our staff to make sure that that will not happen.
Correct.
And so,
And we will use those same standards that we used for the other projects you've mentioned. We always start with, okay, the National Wildlife refuge is there, and the other things that we're trying to protect in that area as well.
the other thing is not so easy, but I've brought it up time and again in public, and I think at this point that I do not think that this council should be delayed any too much longer in making a decision about the Soloco stormwater management standards. We need that in front of this council for this council to make a decision.
It is coming as a part of the MZDO.
Okay.
We are frantically working through it, and we've given you the timeline of around August.
Okay.
Hopefully, we will have more information to you next month in July as to more precise dates. But yes, sir, we are including.
Okay. I think that this council deserves a chance to vote on that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so thank you. I think that's the major issues of this letter that I wanted to address. And again, I want to thank the league. They've been good partners with us. They've been good oversights. Their comments are legitimate. Their concerns are concerns we all have about the ecosystem of the Low Country and preserving what we have here. So I can't thank them enough. And as far as the one other thing they said about the 9-month moratorium, this is way far away from the area that Jasper County has designated as the moratorium area. So I hope I've addressed all the concerns, and for council, before I go to the public, if there are any further comments, does anybody have any comments about this that's been brought up by the league?
Harry, I just have a question. You've sat here and heard these concerns. Anything that throws you off, or you're on board with what you've heard? Good. Thank you.
Okay, then at this point, what I'd like to do is open up to the public. The first ordinance we will vote on is the annexation, but please, from the public, any comments on any one of the 4 ordinances, please feel free to come forward at this time. You will be open to the public on each one of them as we go through them prior to the vote. Anyone from the public like to speak at this time? Juan? Yes, sir. Okay. Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes. This first ordinance is for the annexation of 471 acres into the city of Hardeeville. It's ordinance 2023-6-1B.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-6-1B.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The next of the 4-part is the zoning, and this will change the zoning from rural preservation in unincorporated Jasper County zoning to planned development district, so that we are creating a PDD now that this property is in the city limits. Do I have a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to ordinance 2023-6-1C?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve on second reading for PDD ordinance 2023-6-1C.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Third part part is a master plan, and this is the master plan for the entire parcel where the warehouse will go. This is ordinance 2023-6-1D. I'll go now to a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to make a comment about the master plan? Okay, so now I'll ask for a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to 2023-6-1D.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt 2023-6-1D.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing no takers, I'll call for a voice vote on this as well. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next, second reading of an ordinance approving the development agreement between the City of Hardeeville and HCP Partners. This is known as Port Logistics Tract. This is 2023-6-1E. I'll open this now up to the public. Does anyone from the public have any comments or questions regarding this? This is the fourth and final ordinance regarding this project. Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to ordinance 2023-6-1E.
Move, Mayor, that we approve ordinance 2023-6-1E.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments by council or the public? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, welcome to the city of Hardeeville. We wish you luck in your project, and I will echo what Mrs. Guzman said. We're happy the way you have approached this in keeping our environment safe, and I particularly, we have many good projects that have been coming before us that, in my humble opinion, are in the wrong location. This one is a good project in the right location, in my opinion, and obviously the opinion of the council. So we wish you luck. Take good care of our adjacent wetlands, and we wish you a lot of success. Welcome to the city of Hardeeville. Okay. Now we go on to new business. This is a resolution of the city of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council authorizing the city manager to amend the contract with the Greenery, Inc., increasing area of landscaping and grounds maintenance services within the city limits. This is a resolution 2023-6-15A, and talk about timing. Timing is everything, isn't it? Mr. Zimbor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I've asked Mr. Brown to do a kind of a recap based on, I think the mayor requested, a couple other council members were not present for the reasons why we elected to go with the Greenery. And as I think the council recalls, as part of our budget presentation, in lieu of adding additional full-time staff, we recommended that we increase the responsibilities of the professional landscaping company so our staff could focus on more what we believe are important pressing matters. So, Mr. Brown, go ahead. And I just wanted to note the Greenery did a fine job today. They very responsive. I think we all know that we had a storm last evening, and they were very responsive in cleaning up the areas under their control. So kudos to them. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, council members. It's a pleasure to be back up here again to talk with you. Can you go to the next slide, please? Or do I have control of that?
You actually have control.
Do I? All right, somebody needs to educate me on that. I apologize. This right here? All right, so let's go to the first slide here. Sorry about that. As Mr. Simbor mentioned, wanted to provide kind of a brief synopsis, if you will, about how we got to where we are today with the Greenery. Of course, in previous years, the Public Works Department was somewhat one-dimensional in that it was out there cutting grass, doing trimming and things like that. As the city began to grow and everything, fortunately, my predecessor had the foresight, along with Mr. Simbor, that hey, we need to look at how can we do more with what we have, because we've got a lot of infrastructure issues out there, as you probably know, that we need to address. And so we looked at doing an assessment last year of bringing in a professional service for the lawn care, if you will, and the grounds maintenance that we have throughout the city right now. And so what we did in FY22, we did the assessment, the city did, and what the analysis showed was, yes, indeed, having third party come on to provide those professional services would free up public works resources that we could put into other things. Interesting enough, you just talked about stormwater. That's one of the major issues that we're dealing with right now, and I'll go more into that here in a second. But that is the number one thing that I'm looking at right now with using my resources as we go forward. But again, the analysis showed that it would free up public works resources to hit other city priorities as we needed it. So RFP went out June of last year. There were four. It went out to four bidders. Two actually responded. Greenery was one of them. They came back as the lowest bidder, but as we assessed it, it looked like they were the best solution for the RFP, so we went with them. So going on to the next slide here, this is the contract. It's real simple. It's grounds maintenance, it's landscaping. So it's mowing, it's trimming, it's edging, it's tree maintenance, it's irrigation maintenance. It's these types of things, the ornamental beds around the buildings and such, taking care of how they look and make sure they're maintained appropriately. Areas covered. Right around this building here, as you know, all the way back to the fence line where Richard Gray Park takes over. It's that area back there. It's also in the area that you know very well. We're looking at the municipal hub down on Martin Street, down there where the police and fire are located, where the old town hall is located, the library, the Dasher House, the intern house, and there's a couple small lots as well that are vacant that we have for them on their contract. Now, down below, you'll see what the actual contract was for 3 years. The first year, which we are about to end right now on 31 July, and that's the end of the first year. So monthly, it's an $11,226 for that work that you see right there, and then 135 roughly annually. 4.8% is typically what it is for the markup as we go from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and that's acceptable as we look at it here. So that's the contract as it lays right now. So we did a little bit of analysis. We looked at, since we're at the end of the first year, and what I can see from my position is they've performed satisfactorily. There has been some hiccups. There's been some issues, minor issues with performance that we have called them on. They've been very responsive. They've been receptive, and they have basically looked for the solution and got to it to fix whatever the issue was that we brought up. Prior to having them come on board again, Public Works was out there providing the mowing and the trimming and the edging. I like to call it the mow and blow paradigm, which means we go out there, we mow the lawn, and we take the blowers and we blow the clippings wherever they need to go and move on to the next place. Not a real professional kind of way of handling things, but it's the way we did it. So having these guys come on to provide that more professional look, I think, is the right thing to do. They brought the more comprehensive approach to the problem that we had. Now, while Public Works is still out there providing the lawn maintenance, the trimming and the edging and stuff throughout the city, we have freed up a little bit of our resources by having the greenery do some of the work for us. It has freed up some things, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done, primarily in the stormwater, the fleet maintenance that we've had the opportunity to discuss here in this forum a couple times. It's going to require increased focus as we go forward. Down at the bottom of this slide, I wanted to provide a few examples of things that we've done just recently over the last a few months, if you will, just to show you what Public Works has been doing outside of just maintaining the grass and such. So recently, we've cleared tree lines out at the Commerce Park to help with Dominion Power to put their power poles in place to provide the power that needs to get out there. we're estimating it's about $10,000 we saved the city by having our guys go out there and do that, vice having the contractor take on that work. Another one, installing cable, the conduit out at the comms tower that just went up recently. Again, this is another one of the things where a contractor was coming in saying, hey, we're going to charge you 30 grand for that. We took our guys out there and did it for a lot cheaper. This was a 280-foot long conduit, 6-inch conduit, pretty large, placed 4 feet in the ground. It's not an easy job. There's a lot of that goes into that. My guys went out there and knocked it out of the park in 2 days. I think we saved about 20 grand for the city by doing that. You can also see a couple of the other things that we've listed here. We've already started doing some stormwater, taking care of some stormwater issues that we see throughout the city, and I'm going to talk about one here in a second to give you an example on that. And then, of course, we've talked about this, our fleet maintenance. We're already starting that up. We're already starting to get more business down to Public Works. We're doing basic repair and maintenance work. We're doing oil changes. We're doing tire work that needs to be done on city vehicles. And we're already saving money for the city. We know that for sure. And then the last sentence there, as you know, you've received a memo recently from us talking about demolition of the Dasher house and the adjacent garage that we're going to be taking on here real soon. The abatements should be done at the end of this week. It's going to be handed over to the fire department for some training, and then we'll get on demoing that property, which is going to save a lot of money for the city as well. So analysis continuing. We looked at this during the budget build, if you will, and we said, you know, with what we see coming up, you know, having 2 additional people on our staff at Public Works would be ideal. However, thinking outside the box, is there a different way that we can do this? And so we started to look at the greenery, and we said, let's do an analysis to see, you know, what they would charge us if we wanted to add more to their contract. And then we said, okay, compared to that, what would it cost for us to go out and actually hire 2 additional people? So the graph in the center of this slide shows the increase that we got from the greenery when we asked for a quote for them for the area that we're asking them to take on is $5,381. Whereas if we would go out and hire 2 additional people for Public Works, a maintenance tech 1 and 2, $7,500 a month. That's the total package pay for those people to come in. So you see there, the annual savings would be nearly $26,000 by having the greenery take on more responsibility. That would free up 2 to 3 of my people that I can put into other areas of the city that need our focus and our work out there. Down below, you'll see if we were to add the greenery, the increase to the greenery, what that would mean for years 2 and 3. This is in here. I just wanted to show you an example that we've recently done. This is part of the stormwater issue that we have in the city. This is located right back here behind us in Richard Green Park. This is behind the dog park and the basketball courts, the ditch line that runs back there. What we started to notice was water was standing there, and it was standing there for days, weeks, even months. And we're like, what's going on? So we started to look at that. We noticed that it just wasn't moving. So we started to figure out that from Randall Street, where it goes underneath the street over to the retention ponds on the other side of the road, it was blocked up. So if you look actually at the picture right here, that picture shows before. Doesn't even look like there's a ditch there. How can water really move through that? Water can, but it's going to take a very, very long time for that water to get to where it needs to go. So what we did is we came in with 2 men, Mini X, a pickup truck, and a trailer for a week. And we were able to clear that out. You're asking, gosh, it took you a week? Yeah, it took a week because there was a lot of work that had to be done there to dig all that out, get that debris where it needed to go so we could dispose of it properly. So we have the water flowing out there in that ditch, and it's moving through the culvert at Randall over to the retention ponds on the backside of the ball fields, which it should be. That's a great example right there of stormwater work that our Public Works folks have the capability to do. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. By bringing more responsibility to the greenery, this frees up your Public Works department to get out there and do more work like this. So going on to the last slide here, recommendations, pretty simple. Just continuing the relationship that we have with the greenery right now. We need to put more focus on city infrastructure as the city continues to grow, not only with stormwater, but other things as well. like I've mentioned here, roadways, we're taking on more roadways as well. Eventually, I'm going to have to get my folks into training so that we can get repair work done on roadways as we start to receive those. Brooks Willis Drive is a great example of that. We just finished that roadway up on the north end there, and then the fleet maintenance as well. Continuing that partnership with the greenery, I think, is a smart thing to do. And so we just wanted to provide that for you. So open to any questions you might have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yep.
We'll start the questioning with Mr. Mearsman.
Just a couple questions. First off, is just my opinion. Somewhere down the road in the future for Hardeeville, I would love to see public works staff be able to bring all these back into house. It's not the time now. That I do understand. The second question is as this is an addendum to an existing contract, did we have to bid this because of the cost factor being approximately 60,000 a year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And the third is for the past 10 months, a year approximately, coming in the front door of City Hall, I've just been amazed at the grass out front. And we've had a contract with the Greenie during that time. It was almost embarrassing
Yes, sir.
to have that. Now I've seen all of a sudden it's all been taken care of. Brings me to the point is who has the oversight over the operation? Who's checking them to make sure we are getting what we're paying for?
So me and my staff, sir. So Mr. Palmerico he's still back there. Mr. Palmerico sitting back there as operations. He is primarily the guy that's out there.
Okay.
But I also have that as well. Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Guzman.
Steve asked all the questions I was going to ask, so I don't have any at this time. Thanks, Steve.
Mr. White.
I think the make or buy model is a good one. This is a good illustration of buying, making something happen that is good. My question with them is because we're collaborating with them, are you assured that when we have a piece of a project that they pick up on for the next phase, that we're not going to get 2 months later, well, what you didn't get it to where we wanted to based on your work? Is there any sign off that things are being done and they're agreeing with as we go through this? So it's not complicated if there's something that happens down the road of it didn't get done right or you didn't do what you were supposed to. I'm not sure that will happen, but I think I've heard those things
Sure.
over my years, and I'm just wondering.
So to answer your question, we have looked at what their proposal is, and it's pretty straightforward, what they're going to provide for us. Now, our job now is to oversight that and make sure that we are getting what we're paying for. So when it comes to the area that we are going to, let me see if I've got this here. Okay, right here. On this slide right here, this shows what we're looking for them to take over. So if you look at this slide, it's kind of maybe hard to see, but it's in a purple here. It's this whole line here and this whole line right here. On both sides of the road, ditch lines, 1 foot past the ditch line, will be maintained one time a week during the prime season, which is October to March, or excuse me, March to October. Sorry about that. And then twice a month in the off months. Now we'll have the opportunity to go back to them to say, hey, it's growing more than what we expected. We need you to get back out there and take care of this. And there are things that they're going to be. So it's trash pickup, it's litter pickup in these areas. It's trimming, it's weed eating, and it's mowing, and making sure that they're maintaining what we're asking them to do is our job, and that's what we'll do out there. So
Part of what I was asking you is, will they say back to you, you didn't do what you were supposed to do for us to do what we're supposed to do? How are you making sure that whatever your requirements are, they're agreeing that you got them done?
are you saying as far as what we are going to do as far as the maintenance of the?
Yes, or
Okay.
any,
So-
whatever
so-
we have to do to make them successful.
Sure. So then I think what we look at is if that comes up. I don't think it will, but if it does, that's a sit down with these guys to say, hey,
Okay.
look, here's what we're doing. Now we're still going to be out there cutting grass. We're going to be focused on these residential roads in the communities here. They're going to take the larger roads and get those. So that's the interface between those two, right? So as long as we are meeting them, we're going to go up to that ditch line. They're going to take over from that ditch line. We should be okay. And again, if we get to that point where we feel that they're not doing something that we've required them to do, that we're paying them to do, it's a sit down. We're in
got you.
front of them and we're making sure they're doing what they need to do. To Mr. Mearsman's point here, yes, this went way too long out here with this. But once we finally got them, they were about to charge us for that, but they took the cost of that themselves.
I hear you.
That's what they should do. So we resolved that. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.
Mr. Carroll?
No questions. I was here when we voted to switch over, and I was a little bit dubious, I'll admit, because kind of going back to what Steve said, it's nice to have everything, in-house, but I also know you got a full plate and then some.
Sure.
And you've got to use what you can use, and, I trust your judgment, and you say, and you're pleased with them, and Mike's pleased with them and stuff, then I don't have an issue with that at all.
My first question is, and I must say I'm really impressed. So I want to know how you arranged a major weather event 24 hours before this vote. Because whatever influence you have at the high levels, I would love to have a little bit of that influence. That was
So for
really impressive. I must say.
influence, sir, I go to Mike Pomerico for that. He takes care of that for me.
I figured Pomerico was involved in that, but anyway, seriously, I have one. I didn't have a question about the cost, which thank you for preparing that of the one person, but and this is a silly question, but when they do the mowing, as we've seen on 278, not everybody picks up the litter before they mow it and tear it into little pieces. The greenery picks up litter before they mow?
So, yes, sir. This is that thing. This is what we do. So we pick up litter before we mow out there.
I know we do.
And so that's on their contract as well. They won't be on 278, by the way. That's not part of this at all. But
I
yes, sir.
understand.
Yes,
But I
sir.
know we do it, and I applaud
Yes, sir.
us over the years for doing that.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to make sure they're going to do it too.
Yes, sir. That's part of this amendment is actually written in there, litter control. Yes, sir.
I have no further questions, and, if I need help from above, who do I talk to?
guy right back here.
Pomerico?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sir.
okay.
Sit in the back row.
Yeah.
Sub days.
Okay, so now I'd like to open up to the public. Does the public have any comments or questions regarding this resolution? There will only be one vote, and that will be this evening. Seeing no takers, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to Resolution 2023-6-15A.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2023-6-15A.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by the council or public? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Brown, thank you for the presentation. It was very helpful to know the full background on this
Thank you, sir.
decision. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry?
and for his job performance,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, we're,
All right, gotta have that synergism.
he has,
Sleep did you get last night?
he has good synergy with the above.
All right.
Next is a resolution of the City of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council authorizing the city manager to dispose of surplus property. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Yes, sir. So the code requires us, after we have property that is either not working or surplus that we like to dispose of, we routinely come to the council and ask for your blessing to dispose of this vehicles and equipment. We're recommending the council adopt this resolution, which allows us to dispose of various pieces of surplus property.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Carroll this time.
That's a kind of a standard thing that Mike asks us for periodically and kind of formality, but he has to get rid of stuff and all, so I don't have any questions.
Mr. White?
I'm just curious, Mike, how do you decide what you sell for the market or what you think you can get or combination or whatever?
Yep. So in the past, we've done a number of different things. We are fortunate that with all the social media, public procurement and public disposal sites, we are getting, well, and again, with COVID and material difficulties and delivery, we're getting more and more for our surplus material. So that's how we generally do it. Jody's been a crackerjack. I think she reported recently $100,000-something for a group of vehicles. So we use every available tool, and fortunately, we've got a very high return on stuff that we no longer need.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, Mrs. Guzman.
So when you say that, we're going to authorize the city manager to dispose of surplus property, is this a blanket authorization or is there a particular list?
It's the list
got a
on the
list.
back of the resolution, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Mr. Mearsman.
I have no questions.
I have no questions either. This is something we do on a regular basis, and it's something that's worked out to the benefit of the city over the years, so I have no further questions. I'd like now to offer the public, if they have any comments or questions regarding disposing the surplus city property. Seeing none, I'll like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to Resolution 2023-6-15B.
Make a motion that we adopt 2023-6-1 or -6-15B.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions by the public or council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Okay. Let's go get rid of that, Mr. Zimbor. Next is a resolution of the City of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Beaufort and the City of Hardeeville, authorizing a workforce training program partnership, providing affordable workforce training programs for the residents of Beaufort County and Jasper County. This is Resolution 2023-6-15C. Mr. Zimbor, please.
Yes, sir. So recently we approached both Beaufort and Jasper County to partner with us to provide additional funding to serve the residents of both Beaufort and Jasper County for this job training and retraining. Beaufort County has readily stepped up. We negotiated an intergovernmental agreement, which they would contribute $118,000 to train a certain amount of Beaufort County folks. We're recommending adoption. We've also understand that Jasper County is going to propose an intergovernmental agreement for an additional $60,000 to train an additional amount of Jasper County residents. So we're very thrilled with the partnership, and the city, as we know, it's not a traditional municipal service that we offer, but we've stepped up the plate and we've done a wonderful job giving, I think, 150-something people plus with Jasper and Beaver County residents a new trade and a new lifestyle. So we're recommending adoption of this resolution.
Okay, let's start the questioning with Mr. Mearsman.
I have no questions, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Guzman.
No questions, sir.
Mr. White.
Mike, would these people be trained in things like welding and
Yes,
this
sir.
and that kind of?
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Thank you.
Mr. Carroll.
No questions.
This is a funding source for the program that we've had, and I think we have well over 100 graduates from the program that gives welding certificate, OSHA warehouse safety, and forklift driving, right?
Yep.
And it's held in our Public Works Department.
CDL. CDL.
In the CDL. And I think we have to give special kudos. As Mike said, this is something that is a actual, just something that cities don't do. And for us to take on this responsibility, get the funding so that these students can get scholarships so they don't have to pay, to get these certificates, I think is just a wonderful model and a credit to our city. And I'd like to thank Mr. Neil Parsons because I know he's been at the forefront of this right from the beginning. And I think this is something we should all be proud of that our city has done. So that's all the comments I have regarding that. At this time, I'd like to open up to the public. Anyone from the public like to make a comment or ask a question regarding this resolution? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes. This is Resolution 2023-6-15C.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-6-15C.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions by the public or by council? Being none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're done with the resolutions. Next, we go to the manager's report. Mr. Zimborg, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. 4 quick things, and then maybe one that might take a few minutes longer. I just want to acknowledge all the city staff, specifically police department, fire department, building, public works, our media folks for how they responded to the storm last night. It was incredible. So great job to our folks and being very responsive. I know they worked very hard. Festival on Main is June 24th, 6 to 9, so that we'll be back here. We look forward to entertaining the community, and we hope people come and enjoy themselves. We're trying to coordinate, again, going back to the Workforce Development Program. We're scheduling a meeting with South Carolina Alliance, EDA, Carleton County, and LOCOG to try to look at ways we can combine our efforts and look for additional funding for the program. And regarding to that, we too will be recognizing EJF at a future meeting as they will continue to fund our program. So we'll be very appreciative of them, and they're going to be here in July to accept our congratulations and acknowledgement. And then just finally, the city clerk is, unfortunately, Miss Lori will be retiring soon. We're in the very process of our city clerk search. Currently, we have 28 applicants. The committee is looking at it. We've lowered it down to 13 qualified candidates, some internal and some external. They will be conducting interviews over the next week or so. So hopefully very soon we'll have whoever the next city clerk will be. So we look forward to bringing that forward to meet at the council. And then finally, Mr. Davis, I asked him to do an update to the council regarding the 2 projects on Argent Boulevard. So Mr. Davis, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, after that.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to talk about everyone's favorite road.
What one is that?
That would be Argent Boulevard.
And where is that located?
Haven't heard of that.
Rings a bell. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. If we had $1 for every time someone cursed that road, we could probably repave it in gold. But anyway, I did want to give you an update. Slow but steady progress. Well, I know I updated you a little while ago about the water line issue. We are working through that. We had a very good call, Mr. Simbor and I did, with our engineer, with Mr. Leland Colvin, the Deputy Secretary of Department of Transportation. So we're working through that. We need to do a little more geotechnical work related to that pipe, and then hopefully we can send a letter that will certify that we're good to go there. So we can get that issue done. We'll get the final approval from DOT. We have already received the wetland permit. There are some wetland impacts there on the 1 quadrant, so we already have that permit. We are still waiting for the OCRM permit. That was submitted in December, so we anticipate that pretty darn soon. We're also in the final stages of preparing the right-of-way plats because we do have to acquire some additional right-of-way in the intersection, but all those property owners, developers, they're all on board with it, so that's not an issue as far as acquiring the property. And then SCDOT, of course, has designed the signal. They will bid that separately once we bid out the physical improvements to the roadway. They are going to bid and have the signal installed. So I wish I could give you a timeline, but I made that mistake a while back, and I will never do that again. So but we push every day, truly every day, and I'll keep you informed as we move along. The other intersection at Argent, New River, and East Argent Parkway, initial layout of the improved intersection were submitted to DOT earlier this year for their preliminary comments. Our engineers addressing those. There's also going to be some significant wetland impacts along there on the west side of that of Argent. There are wetlands along Argent Boulevard that are going to be impacted, and it's more than what is up at the other intersections. So we're probably going to have to do some mitigation. So working through that process right now as well. There's also a lot of utilities in that particular area they're going to have to be dealt with. So again, all that goes into the engineering and design. And finally, also related to that, we know and we hear, about the use of that intersection now. We went ahead and authorized a traffic engineer to go ahead and do additional counts right now just to see where we are and how close we are to meeting the warrant for a signal at that location. Because I think it's going to be reached a lot sooner than we initially thought or professionals originally thought. So we decided to go ahead and get updated numbers. That's what I have for you at this time. No shovels in the ground yet, but again, it's a process that we continue to push and work on.
Will the public know when those counts at New River Parkway and Argent Boulevard are taking place, or they like secret?
I can't tell you.
It's supposed to be, if it wasn't already this week, it's supposed to be probably next week. But I'm not really supposed to pad the numbers, but hey.
I would never suggest that.
understand.
But the public might be interested so they don't get in the way
Right, of course.
when
Yes, sir.
when they're counting.
That's right.
So if there are any information that you can share, please share.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I forget where we're going to start, so I'll just go alphabetically and start with Mr. Carroll.
All right, sounds good. A change. Just a few things I did want to bring up again about the storm last night. We could have had it a lot worse, but some people did get hit pretty hard. And I was out kind of late last night, and I can tell you Sam had his guys out and Steve had his guys out all during, one part of Hardeeville was complete pitch black dark. And Sam's guys were out and Steve Fire Department guys were out, and it makes people feel good. It made me feel good knowing that, people are out checking, and so we want to thank you for that. Sam even said he called out extra people last night, and he did say that Mike was riding around. I think Mike was just out for, I don't know, but anyway, I know Mike was out.
I caught him riding around.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Mike was here too. Mike, we appreciate that because we know what you do with these lights and stuff. And so we do appreciate that. And also, it's on the list, but LCOG will have a meeting on the 22nd. And last but not least, Mike, I forgot to ask you the other day, have you got any updates on the industrial park renaming? Well, I got somebody here. Ms. Snowden. As you know, I'm gonna keep up with that.
Unfortunately, I don't have any new information. I know that we are still continually trying to reach out and get information. And as I mentioned before, I've included the family.
Richard and Joe, yeah. I know you said you were getting signatures and stuff, and
We are trying. It's a slow process, but I appreciate any information, any additional methods that anyone would like to suggest, because we're trying everything we know.
Carol, you have any more?
I'm sorry, no, so that's it.
Okay. Next, we have Mrs. Guzman.
Okay, so I did a trip down Boyd Street a couple weeks ago and had to get my notes together about this. Lots of concerned residents over there that feel that they have been neglected and ignored. And what brought it to the forefront was when I heard John talk about this at the meeting on the 1st of June, encouraging people to come before city council and let us know what's going on, because we don't want them to feel abandoned or pushed to the side kind of thing. And that's exactly what some of these folks that I met on this visit are feeling right now. So one of their complaints is that they don't see squad cars coming through there anymore. They used to see them come by 2-3 times a day. They don't see them anymore. Also, they have noticed that there are structures coming up in people's backyards. They don't think that there is a building permit for that, but they are just building stuff. There's RVs being rented out to people in people's backyards. Sheds are being converted into little rentals, and they are being rented out. There's a gentleman that I was privileged to meet, Mr. Leroy Blackshear, who used to be on Jasper County Council. And this gentleman, he's 90-something years old, and he's out there digging ditches. He has a heart condition, and he's out there digging the ditch so he can keep the ditch clean, so when it rains and storms, his yard doesn't get flooded. So I think I don't know how we can audit the business permits because there's a lot of businesses going around there. People say they're just sprouting up overnight. There's traffic backups at these businesses. There's traffic backups where these homes, where the rooms are being rented individually to folks. There's some nefarious activity that's going on one of those streets on Bush Avenue, and there's a lot of things going on back there. And these folks have said that they have called City Hall many times, and their calls have either been ignored or those calls are not being returned. And one of the reasons why I thought I'll bring it up today is because I think it's our responsibility. They are taxpayers too, and we need to listen to these folks and address their issues, not just confine them to the developments up and down 278. So I just thought I'd mention that today.
Ms. Guzman?
Hold on one second, please. First of all, Mrs. Guzman, do you have other comments?
No, sir, I was just going to turn it over.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Mr. Zimbor a question about Boyd Street, but I'm going to first ask Mr. Carroll. You wanted to say something?
I'm not going, I just wanted to go along with what Ms. Guzman said, and Mike probably is not aware of some of it, so to be fair. But I think what we do need to do is get with Mike, maybe at an executive session or something, because I know there are 2 other streets that they have come to me, and I think they are afraid to say anything about sheds. They don't stay during the day. I know you don't know, because they haven't told you, and I told them they need to come up here.
Absolutely.
But they haven't. But like I say, maybe meet with you and let you get some. But anyway, I know it was 2 streets that they did the same thing. Ms. Guzman said that they don't do it at daytime and at night. About 8 stay in that shed at night, and it's no way for the PD to track them or Mr. Brown, because it's not during the day. Whereas if they know about it, because I did make, I think you aware of one street, and Sam got his people around and they stopped it.
Yep.
So I think you need to, because you're not aware of any of this, because I've just been hearing it. So, Mr. Mayor, if we could maybe schedule something in the future to let Mike know so he can get somebody. I know he's not aware of it because they wouldn't come forward.
Well, I think we have to, as soon as possible, even without executive session,
Yes, sir.
whatever issues we've received from the public, Mrs. Guzman, John, that we immediately get it to Mr. Zimbor and get resolutions or investigate it further. The other thing that I asked Mr. Zimbor and then turn it over to him, we approved fixing Boyd Street. I mean, I'm talking years now. And it is a little bit of an embarrassment that still isn't done. So, Mr. Zimbor, where are we with the Boyd Street project in terms of getting those sidewalks that we approved?
Yes, sir. So that's coming forward to the council on July 6th. We grouped, instead of doing individual projects, we grouped several parking lots, street projects together and one RFP, which is going to come before the council July 6th, economies of scale, and they'll all be done, obviously, save money on construction and engineering and the whole ball of wax. So that's coming in July 6th.
Okay, good.
One other point, Mr. Mayor, on that. too.
Yes.
And again, I think we all know this. Obviously, you can call any of us at any time, complaint, concern, but I would suggest, Ms. Guzman, Hardeeville hears and helps. I know then it's recorded, it's logged. Mr. Brown and his staff immediately respond to it. There's a record, so we all know. Or if they want to do it anonymous, they can do that as well. But at least we have a record of it and we can respond to it accordingly.
So if I may respond to that, Mr. Simbor, it's the reason I got called was because they had tried to approach City Hall, and I think because they didn't get anywhere with City Hall, either the call was ignored or nobody responded to them. They reached out to me and asked if I would come over there, and of course I did go over there, and I asked for a ride along, and I asked them to take me down the many streets where they were having issues. I went down Boyd, I went down Bush, I went down Coburn, I went down Sunset Circle. Actually, I took the whole round of the whole area, and I was actually stunned to see that there are neighborhoods like that. It's almost like it's behind walls, and it's like a dirty secret hidden back there, because you see overgrown yards, campers out there, abandoned vehicles. I mean, it's just, I felt really bad for those folks because they have to deal with that. So I said, okay, I'll bring it up in open session, so at least everybody gets to hear it, and hopefully something will get done to help them.
I think that, again, anything like this, let's be very specific, send the information. This is not the first time the subject of illegal rentals happening in people's backyards. It's come up before. So let's make sure that this becomes a priority. And as much specific information we can give Mr. Zimbor, I think it'll be helpful to get a final resolution, okay?
Thank you, sir.
One more point, Mr. Mayor, real quick, I belabor the point. If any resident feels that they're either getting ignored by City Hall or their concern is not being handled, they need to get in touch with me.
Okay.
Call me, come to the City Hall, send me an email, send me a text, whatever they need to do. I will make sure that we dedicate the appropriate resources to try to resolve the problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mearsman,
My turn now.
your turn.
First off, I'd like to thank the city staff. The response from last night's storm was just absolutely amazing. And it shows the dedication of our staff to the city of Hardeeville. Last month, Ms. Guzman brought to me an idea that her group over in Hilton Head Lakes has about hurricane preparedness. And they have a very organized group, and we have a group in Margaritaville now that is up and doing that. July 22nd, we are having 2 expos on that Saturday. Fire department, police department. I understand the county sheriff is going to be involved. We're even going to have somebody from the state police, hopefully, to bring awareness. These 2 communities are right now, from the last time we had a serious storm, which you would almost say Irma, have well over 1,200 new residents in them. Our city has grown immensely as a whole since that last storm. A lot of things have changed, and it's going to be a learning process. And last night was a learning process for a lot of these folks. They thought last night was something. Wait till a hurricane will come. So I'm very proud of our staff. They stepped up. They did it, not even questioning the amount of sleep you all got last night, and then you look at our city today. It's back open. Everything is functioning. We're right back to normal. The other thing is, June 24th, we have the 4th off Main. And I urge the council and every city employee come to these events. So often that all we have coming to us is residents with complaints, be it in their neighborhoods or this or that. I've done 3 of these events now, I think, and it is so nice to have people say, thank you for doing these. Children smiling, the adults having a good time. I think it's very important that we as a council and every city employee be out there so the public knows that we're part of them and we care. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. White?
I want to give an update. Probably about a month ago, with Laurie's help, Sam and I met with members of our police department and got some things that they gave us as feedback. Sam's been following up on that, and I'm going to catch up with him. But the plan was to do that with the fire department and also our employee base. And because the fire department shift work, what I'd like to do, Mike, is work with you to get some of our employees into groups like we did before, where we have lunch and the mayor and I will meet with them, and then we'll follow up with the fire department. And I'd like to get that done between now and sort of the end of August. That gives us a lot of time to plan it. And the feedback from the police department was terrific and made Harry and I a lot smarter in terms of what was happening and some things that needed to be done. And we know the same thing will happen with the fire folks and our regular employee base. So we'll catch up with you. But Mike, we're going to need your help on that. So I wanted to just give you a heads up on that now, okay?
Yes, sir.
Nothing else from me.
Okay, I'll try to go through these quick. On the 2nd, we had a LATS meeting. LATS is the Low Country Area Transportation Study, which is the group that deals with the roadways. And later that day, DOT, after that meeting, came to First Friday at Sun City. So I'd like to thank Craig Wynn and Megan for coming to both events. They spent the whole day down here and did a wonderful job. At the LATS meeting, there, Mr. Josh Johnson of DOT gave a presentation. It's called the Jedburgh Corridor Study. I thought it was a very good example of planning, not just for a development that's coming and we're being asked to approve, but looking 10 and 20 years out. It's all the development that's planned for the area comes in. I asked that this should be given to every elected official in the Low Country. So, and I suggested to the committee that some sort of maybe group workshop be done. So, Mr. Zimbor, I'd like to perhaps sit with Josh Johnson and see if nobody else is interested, but I think our council needs to see this presentation. Okay, if you could arrange for him to come. On the 5th, I went to hear Governor McMaster speak. He was at the Beaufort County EOC, the sheriff's office, and as a result of that, he was speaking about hurricane preparedness. And Monday, Mayor Salka and I met on the bridge of Sun City, which is kind of the border between Bluffton and Hardeeville and Beaufort and Jasper County. And we did a little video that Jessica recorded that should be available tomorrow, right, Juan?
Yes, sir, Mr.
And it deals with hurricane preparedness. And it might be something to add to your presentation. When you see it, I'll pass it around. And I'd like that to get to all the social outlets that we can, or media outlets that we can. And part of that, and I referenced in the Bluffton Sun that came out last week, Mayor Salka's monthly article had like a checklist of what you should do for hurricane preparedness. I thought it was excellent and did a good thing for everybody to use as a checklist in preparing for a hurricane. On the 8th, I met Ms. Verna Arnett, the new CEO of, or director of BJWSA, and I'd like to congratulate her. And, of course, Greg for becoming the board chair there. On the 9th, last Friday, The Beaufort Chamber of Commerce held the legislative delegation reception, and a number of our legislators, state legislators, spoke. Senator Davis and a couple of others, and that spoke to the crowd. Yesterday, Mr. Davis, Mr. Zimbor, and I went to May River Village, and this is an affordable housing project in Bluffton, downtown Bluffton. And I was really impressed. There's a beautiful apartment complex that is restricted to, was it 50, 60, and 80% AMI, but a beautifully maintained apartment complex for affordable housing. And that company, which is headed by the former mayor of Hilton Head, David Bennett, and his wife, are looking for sites in Hardeeville and Jasper County, which is the reason for the meeting. So I would love to see something like that in Jasper County. I had asked and drove by, and Mr. Zimbor, there has been a continuing issue about the sight lines at the bushes at Moore and Frontage Road. What is being done about that? Because it's come up a number of times. I'd like to get a resolution, put it behind us. What's going on?
Thank you, Mr. Simba, for calling me up. Katie Woodruff, Chief Woodward, and I went out yesterday. We've worked a lot with the regional, one of the regional vice presidents for Schumacher Homes. Those were required plantings. It was out there, their sight lines and everything were approved by DOT. But after investigating, we do realize they've moved them a couple of times. They're still on the way. So we met, unfortunately, in the rain yesterday, which I think added to my sound here, with this vice president, and they are going to be removing about 6 of those trees. They're going to try to relocate them on other areas of the property to maintain some landscaping requirements, but they will be moving those. We don't understand exactly why the stripe was put so far back on Moore, but the ones we identified, they'll be marking, and they should be removed by the beginning of next week.
Great, thank you.
Weather permitting, of course, that's what's being.
Right.
The ground should be soft.
Thank you for that. Also, over the last couple of weeks, as we all know, South Carolina has allows burning, and the developers take advantage of that. And there's a lot of burning, and there were some reports, and I want to thank Chief Joey Rao for going out there, looking at the situation, studying the situation. And with all the developments that are going on particularly in the East Sergeant, but all downtown here, we've approved projects. As burning continues, depending on which way the wind blows, it will affect different areas of our city. So Chief Rao is on top of it. I have asked him to review the ordinances with Mrs. Maines. And after that review, I'm hopeful that the council will consider a revised ordinance regarding open burning by the developers. I don't have any more specifics to give than that at this time, but I just want to thank Chief Rao for his efforts in taking care of that burning. And like everyone else, I want to congratulate and thank everybody in city staff who spent a long evening last night. And there's just nothing but good things to say about the efforts and the time that they took to get this all done. I'm leaving town on next Saturday. I will miss the Festival on Main because I'll be in a 5-hour layover at JFK. But So the city council would like to follow up on our executive sessions, and I don't, we would like to meet with Mr. Zimbor at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Does that give us enough time for public notifications?
This coming Tuesday
Yes.
has to be 24 hours before the meeting, so by Monday.
So it can be done tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we post it.
Okay, so, Mr. Zimbor, we would like to schedule an executive session, 2 o'clock, Tuesday, the 20th. And, you know, it won't be any other on the agenda except executive session.
Mayor, what would be the subject matter? Because I would have to.
Item number B on today's executive session. So we will deal with that next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And that's all I have. So if there are no other comments or questions, then we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Don't forget.